Hello, everybody. Elizabeth Johnston here of Own Your Creativity, and I'm delighted today to be talking with Lisa Pivo, a healer, about creativity and COVID. Can you tell us when you knew that you were a healer? When did you realize that? Can you tell us that story?
Wow, I think it was probably when I was 4 years old. I went and told my dad, Daddy, don't eat that meat. It's bad for your heart. And please don't drink that Coke. It's bad for your blood. And I was always on at him. And I think, yeah, that it started when I was 4. Before that, even, I think when my twin sister was going down the birthing canal, and she had an umbilical cord wrapped around her neck, and I think that was I couldn't help her, and I came out with this knowing that I had to heal, that I had to heal the world, I had to heal my world. And so my failure was with my dad, because let's face it, nobody gets their family to stand on their own, and follow their advice a lot of the time. So it's always good to have a third party. And when I was 18, I said, Dad, I'm done talking about this. I really want you to stop. I can't help you anymore. You're beyond any kind of help in terms of the damage is done. And when you have a heart attack and get diabetes, there's nothing I can do. So don't call me. Basically was what I said to him. And so obviously when I was 22, he did have a heart attack and he did get diabetes. And my stepmom phoned and asked for advice, and I said, he's not going to take it from me, so yeah, phone my friend. She'll give him the same advice I gave him for years, and maybe he'll follow it. And thank God he did, and he lasted another 40 years.
Wow.
So yeah.
I think that the point that you bring up about, a third party or an outside party is often the best way to help our families, because sometimes they just don't listen to it. And I know moms often have this struggle, they tell their kids to do X, Y, or Z, and it just like goes in one ear and out the other, But if there's somebody else that they respect, or that, reduces the stress of listening, because there probably is a lot of like stress and angst around, following instructions when you haven't been, and probably shame and guilt too, so all of those things are kind of removed when there's an outside objective party that's helping people.
Absolutely.
And so even though you realized, like in the birth canal, that you were a healer, that doesn't necessarily mean that when you grow up that you're going to have that as your business and you're going to be a healer. So what was it that made you decide, like, instead of, like, I don't know, going to law school or becoming an actress or whatever, like, why did you grow up and say, yeah, no, this is, I since I was in the birth canal and since 4 years old, and I'm still going to do it?
When I was 15, I'd had a headache for a really long time. I was coming home every day with headaches, and my mom eventually asked me, like, how long have you had these headaches? And I stood there and I was like, about 3 years. Oh, and she was like, oh. And so she took me to the hospital, and a medical doctor sat me down and said, you've had a genetic disease in your heart since you were born, and that it was caused by a virus that we can't cure, and you have to be on this medication for the rest of your life. So at 15, I said to him, what are the side effects of that medication? And he said, well, you can bleed from your eyes and your ears and your nose, and oh yeah, if you do that, like, come to the hospital immediately, and oh yes, death is one of the side effects. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do yeah. So I went on my own healing journey. I kind of I started searching. My mom started searching separately from me. We were doing it together sometimes, but I managed to find a medical doctor, alternative medical doctor in Scotland, of all places, that dealt specifically with the heart. And he gave me hope. He basically gave me alternative medications to help my heart. And after 3 days of taking those meds, my heart started behaving better, and so my headache stopped.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, okay. He had said he can't help me with the chronic virus and the chronic fatigue virus, but that he knew people that had actually beat it with alternative medicines. And so I had some hope. I had a way. So basically what I did is I went after every single modality out there that I could possibly find. Some I just dipped my toes or fingers into, and some I deep dived and became accredited therapist and so on. I started a BSc majoring in psychology, physiology, and genetics, and I just kept going until I'd had about 291 different therapies under my belt. And by that point, I was helping other clients because I'd learned enough and I had this innate ability. And yeah, so I was just beautifully on that journey. And that's why I started helping other people, because mostly the medical profession is all that people know.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they know a little bit about alternative healing, they don't know enough to really help themselves. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that medical professionals can get you so far. They might be able to diagnose, they can give you drugs that are toxic to your system, but they can't really tell you what's going on inside your own body. You're the one that's trying to tell them that. And the way I work is completely opposite to that. I tell you what's going on inside, what your body is telling me. Mm-hmm. And I work from there.
So how does that process work? How do you listen to what the body of the person that you're trying to help is telling you? How do you do that?
I do it in a number of different ways, but the biggest way, I use a medical device. It's a frequency medicine machine. And basically I send frequencies to the body, much in the same way as a radio sends frequencies out and the radio picks it up. And I use the electromagnetic field to send and receive those frequencies. And once that's been done, I can, I've done the test. There's over 11,000 frequencies that have been sent to you, and your body has response. So if it responds once, it comes back in yellow. If it responds twice, it comes back in red, purple. If it responds 3 or more times, it comes back in red. And I'll only start treating something that comes back over 100 times. Because I'll give you an example. If you have a flu, let's say, coming in, then at 100, you have no symptoms, no signs. There's not even sneezing. You don't even know you have it yet. So you can see things that are coming in before they get there. At about 150, some people it's 140, some people it's 160, I start seeing flu symptoms. That's when most people start sneezing, coughing, get body aches. At about 200, you'll have bronchitis. At 300, pneumonia. 400, lung collapse. So I can gauge very clearly where somebody's at and exactly how far their body has gone down the path of dis-ease, and then the process that I need to work on to bring it back. And then I use whatever modalities that body is saying it needs. So for example, some people prefer Chinese herbal medicine. Other people prefer doctor's medication. Other people prefer homeopathics or herbal medication. And so, and so on. Yeah. So
Yeah, go ahead.
I give them what their body asks for from that
Okay,
point. Yeah.
that's what I was going to ask you. Is it what the body is asking for, or what they think that they need? Like if they came to you and said, like, well, I want homeopathic, or I want Chinese, like, but it's from the body.
It's from the body. It's the body talking to the device, and the device talking to the body. It works much in the same way as if you were to walk into a room and somebody were angry in the room, you would know, right? Even if they weren't facing you, you would know, because you would feel it, right?
Right.
You'll feel it in your body. And so much in the same way, the machine is sending and receiving that information, because we are natural senders and receivers of frequency on every single level, on an emotional, on a mental, on a physical, and on an energetic level.
And so we've heard a lot about 5G. Is that going to interfere with your ability to receive the message, the signals from your clients, or how is that going to affect it, do you think?
It won't affect it at all, because the device is it picks up each person's unique frequency signal, much like tuning into a radio. So as long as I have a photo of the person and they filled in the treatment questionnaire, I can send and receive frequencies to them no matter where they are in the world. Yeah.
Wow. Have you had situations where that were really challenging? Like maybe, you prescribed this modality, but then the situation didn't resolve itself and you had to try something else.
There are certain, like the chronic fatigue that I had to deal with. There are certain ones that are more challenging because they have lots of different aspects to them. So, for example, a chronic fatigue will only show itself once there's been some sort of emotional trauma. So there's always that link. It resides and is stored inside the spinal column, and it becomes active and dormant depending on what's going on inside the body, how strong the immune system is, and lots of different things like that. So if you are working on somebody, you have to work on lots of different levels. You have to work on the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the energetic level for certain diseases. Others are really simple. Like Friday last week, I had somebody who had been throwing up for 15 hours. That was really easy. I figured out it was a poison. I gave her the treatment for the poison, the anti-frequency for that poison. I figured out exactly what had caused it, what poison it was. Told her not to take it again, obviously. And then it was a medicine as far as she was concerned, but it was poison for her. So, and then obviously she was dehydrated. I told her if she doesn't get rehydrated, she's going to actually get an epileptic fit. So she needs to get rehydrated. If she can't keep anything down, she needs to go to the hospital, even if it's in Corona time. She has to go to the hospital and get a drip, because this is what I'm seeing.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, on every level, and sometimes it's simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned COVID, and the topic today is creativity and COVID. So I'm wondering if you could speak to the connection between those two things for us.
I think that, COVID-19 is something that separates everybody. The way it's been handled, everyone's in isolation, no one's allowed to touch, no one's allowed to hug, no one's allowed. And we're social beings. And when you create the amount of fear that has been created around something, even if it's not real, even if it's not true, you shut down, certain parts of the brain start shutting down, and cortisol level rises, your stress level rises, your autoimmune system starts functioning on overdrive, your adrenals start functioning on overdrive, and you go into flight or fight mode, and you become like the deer in the headlights because there's nowhere to flee, so you end up just stuck in paralysis and procrastination. Yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of creatives just not, I mean, they've got all this time, extra time they wouldn't have. They don't have to go to work necessarily unless they work from home, but they've got all this extra time, the time that it was spent getting into and from work they have. If they don't have kids, they've got an enormous amount of time, but they're not doing anything with that time as a result of just being stuck in, firstly, their mindset, and secondly, the fear block is
So I'd like to, talk a little bit more about like the fear and the mindset, and like how you would, treat somebody who came to you and said, like, usually I'm on track, but I'm procrastinating. I can't focus. And maybe we could talk about that. Or did you want to maybe have somebody volunteer?
Yeah, I do. I mean, if either one of you, Mark or Angelique, have any fears that you would like to work on, I'd be happy to just do some work with you one-on-one.
Sure. Awesome, Angelique.
Oh, well, cool. Okay. So what kind of fears do you have?
Well, right now I'm working on building my coaching business, and my number one fear is that I'm going to fail at it and that people won't buy my coaching services. And I've invested all this money for nothing.
Right. Okay. I write stuff down. Okay. So it's fear of failure, you're saying?
I don't know if it's fear of failure or fear of success.
They're one edge of the same.
Yeah, it's like having all this knowledge, but then being afraid, well, what if I do sell my service to someone, and okay, that would be great, but then what if I can't get them the results they're looking for? Like, what if I'm, that whole fraud thing, I'm new, and what if I really nail this marketing thing, and I bring people in, I do consults with them, and they hire me? Well, now am I able to give them the service that they're looking for? Can I help them get the weight loss results they're looking for? Can I help them get the health that they're looking for? And now hearing you talk about the healing thing, is like, wow, she can do this really cool stuff. I can't do that. How am I going to help them?
Well, you can send them to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right. So then it's fear of
not
being a fraud.
Maybe. Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Not being good enough. Like thinking I'm better than I actually am. And someone's going to figure that out.
And what's even in the heart of feeling not good enough?
Maybe because like I know that I can help someone else with their weight, but then because I've lost 50 pounds in my first year of menopause. I know all this stuff. I know the whole health thing. But sometimes I have a hard time walking that walk and feeling like, well, if I don't do what I know they should be doing, well, maybe I shouldn't be telling them what they should be doing. Well, like I know my clients shouldn't be drinking alcohol, but I struggle not drinking it. Or, I know they shouldn't be having cookies, but then sometimes if they're around, I might get into them,
Okay, so if you were to feel the not good enough in your body where would it be?
Where would it be? It's not in my heart. It's not in my gut, because my gut tells me that I am good enough. I think I just get caught in my brain, in my head that says, it's in the head. It's in the head.
Okay. So if you were to deep dive into your head, into that not good enough, how old were you or are you when you feel that way, not good enough, like a fraud?
It's funny that you bring that up. I was thinking about this yesterday. The time that I was sweeping the basement floor when I was, I don't know, maybe 5 or something, or maybe it was a bit older, but I remember sweeping it and I was so proud of myself. I'm going to surprise my parents. I'm going to sweep up the floor. My dad comes downstairs. He said, "You're kicking up a bunch of dust." And he grabbed the broom out of my hand and said, "Bugger off, I'll do it." Like, or the time I would come home with really good grades, it was like a 98%, and he would ask me what happened to the other 2%.
Mm.
Really?
Yeah.
It was always like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. I feel that. Okay. So that little girl, what resources would she need to have in order to realize that it's her dad's stuff?
What would she need? I don't know.
Can I suggest something?
Yeah, please, because I can't think of anything.
Unconditional love.
That would be nice.
So see it like a balloon and just breathe that in.
Mm.
Yeah. Anything else?
That I would need? Maybe an understanding that that's the way his dad treated him.
Yeah. Understanding. Good. Breathe that one in.
And knowing that he didn't mean it that way,
Mm-hmm.
that he just didn't know how to express how proud he was of me.
Right. So breathe that in. So I want you to also breathe in. Go to your dad. See him, almost see him as his best self. The part of him that was so proud of his little girl for trying and for doing so well. The part of him that couldn't express, that part of him. And go give him a hug. And just feel all those pieces of him entering you. Every single cell, every molecule in your whole body is just filled with that love, that understanding, that knowing, that pride that your father had for you, in you, and that feeling of you are good enough. And tell me when that's done.
Feels good.
Now grow up with all these things inside you and come back to now. Yeah. And take a look at your business with these new eyes, these fresh eyes. Mm. You're so beautiful. Isn't you radiant, Elizabeth?
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful, so powerful.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was really powerful. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So for people who are watching this later, can you suggest something that they can do to bring themselves back to their creative self during this time of COVID? If there's one thing that they do that can help them get back to their creative self.
There's a powerful process, and it's a really, really simple one. You pretend to be a child going on an adventure. So you walk outside with no shoes on. If you find a puddle, you stomp it. If you find a flower, you pick it. And you lie on your back on the grass and you look at the clouds and the sky and the sun, and you're just like there in that moment. COVID's not there. Unless you have COVID.
Wow, that's great. That's a great
Yeah.
idea. Yeah. I think we need to get back to that sense of play, because that is where our creativity resides. It's in that sense of wonder and awe and play. And yeah, that's really powerful. Thank you.
Most welcome. There's one more thing. When you go back inside and you sit down to write the book or paint the painting or whatever it is you're doing that is creative, before you start, be grateful. The chair you're sitting in is supporting you. The air you're breathing is allowing you to live. The whole universe is here just for you right now in this moment. And you get to be who you are and express that through whatever creative modality you're using at that given time. I'm doing exactly what I'm here to do. So you can do what you are born to do.
Wow. That's give me shivers. That's so powerful. Wow. Thank you. So how can people get in touch with you? What's the next step if they want to take it further with you?
Elizabeth, I'm gonna send you a link that you could send out to everybody together with the recording. Otherwise, they can go to lisapivo.com/healing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.